All right, everybody. Got some good news. The Office of the Inspector General of the Department of Labor is going to be coming to Texas and visiting their offices down here to discuss the H-1B and other things, fraud, stuff like that. And apparently they're going to be working with some of their friends down here. Now, I think we already know who that is since we've seen the videos, but I'm not going to name any names. However, I'll let him say it in his own words so you'll understand what's going on. See if I can find that play button on these
Just
four
got
months.
back from an awesome meeting with the White House task force at the White House. We talked H-1B visa fraud. We talked about the fact that it's not just big companies, but it's these cartels, it's these transnational criminal organizations that are bringing people into this country and taking American jobs from the American people. The IG's office here at the Department of Labor, we are on it. We're actually headed to Texas on Sunday night. Monday and Tuesday, we're going to tour our offices in Texas. A lot of them are working on cases just like this. And stay tuned. We're going to be partnering up with some of our friends in Texas and knocking on some doors of businesses who are completely overrun with H-1B visas. Stay tuned.
Now, you'll have to excuse me if I'm not as perky as he is. It's 90.6 degrees here in my office right now in the old garage, so yeah, it's just a little warm, but I decided I wanted to bring this out. I applaud what he's doing. I'm glad to see it. But as many of you know, it's not only these H-1B fraudsters that are depriving Texans and Americans of jobs. It's our state agencies using our taxpayer money to hire contractors who will not hire Americans. That alone knocks out 50% of the jobs if you figure the private industry gets 50% and the state gets 50%. I bet the percentages might be different, but we'll never know because we don't have the resources to get to that. But the point is, these guys and gals, and for those wondering, I put together a little article the other day about the Attorney General of Texas. Yeah, he's the one that's running for senator right now. He's endorsed by the White House, Donald Trump. Got to have him on his team so he can yell, "Go, team, go." But I tell you what, let's cut all the way to the chase. You can read this article at your own leisure. Let's go down here to the bottom. What this means, the Texas Attorney General's Office, the state's chief law enforcement agency responsible for enforcing Texas' own labor and employment laws. That's kind of like the Department of Labor and the Office Inspector General of the Department of Labor, isn't it? Anyway, he spent nearly $27 million of public money since 2015 on contracts with staffing vendors that are themselves active H-1B sponsors. And the arrangement is still running today. This isn't a claim that any of these contracts were improperly awarded. OAG's procurement records show the bulk went through competitive bidding. That's good. It's a claim about where the money actually ends up. When a state agency outsources IT staff augmentation to a vendor, it isn't hiring Texans directly. And at least 14 of these vendor relationships, it's contracting with firms that source a meaningful share of their technical labor through the guest worker visa systems. In other words, they don't hire Americans. On the state's own dime, inside the very office that is supposed to be Texas' watchdog on these issues. Now, they won't discuss that in public with us. And they spent a lot of money. Look at this one company, Vansor Technologies in Austin, Texas. Damn near $9 million. A lot of money. How much of that went to Texans? These are things you need to be thinking about. Because the Department of Labor and their friends up in Dallas are not going to listen to me. They're not going to discuss this with me because I can bring the receipts. I can show you where the contracts are, where the dollars are. I can show you how many dollars of jobs it deprives Texans and Americans of. I'm willing to discuss this with the Department of Labor. I'm even willing to offer my services to help them identify all this stuff. But it's like the old saying, it takes two to tangle. And right now, I'm out here standing in the middle of the dance floor looking like an idiot. So, if you want to get jobs for Texans or jobs for Americans, shouldn't we cut out all the federal and state spending in every state that goes to contractors who refuse to hire Americans in America? This is America, by God. Let's hire Americans. What do you say? Let's put this little bird back up here. They call me Virgil the Jobs Guy. And fair disclaimer, I run against Paxton because I knew that he wasn't going to do squat. And found out he went to an Islam university in India to teach them how to import war workers to take more jobs from you. So he ain't going to stand up for you, no matter what they say in this little trip they're going to do next week. If he was, he'd shut down all them state contractors that aren't hiring Americans. He put a clause in them contracts that says it must be 100% staffed by American citizens, not foreign guest workers on visas. Little food for thought, folks. You can find me at V. Beersville on Twitter and YouTube. Like, share, and subscribe, as they're always saying. I'm just an old tech guy. Haven't worked in decades, although I did work Attorney General's office a long time ago and still got the badge to prove it. Make $1,419 a month. If you can afford to donate, I'd appreciate a little help. But if you can't, I understand that too, because believe me, I know exactly where you're at. And I know why opening these jobs up at the state agency level would mean so much to the husbands and wives and sons and daughters who can't buy a goddamn interview in Texas anymore, or in America for the way. Anyway, thank you. I've rambled on long enough. If you want the Attorney General of Texas and the Office Inspector General for the Department of Labor to step up to the plate, you've got to demand it. I can't demand it by myself. Thank you. Bye.